English Braille, also known as Grade 2 Braille, is the Braille alphabet used for English. It consists of 250 or so letters, phonograms, numerals, punctuation, formatting marks, contractions, and abbreviations, logograms. Some English Braille letters, such as CH, correspond to more than one letter in print. There are 3 levels of complexity in English Braille. Grade 1 is a nearly one-to-one transcription of printed English and is restricted to basic literacy. Grade 2, which is nearly universal beyond basic literacy materials, abandons one-to-one transcription in many places, such as the letter CH, and adds hundreds of abbreviations and contractions. Both grades have been standardized. Grade 3 is any of various personal shorthands. It is almost never found in publications. Most of this article describes the 1994 American edition of Grade 2 Braille, which is largely equivalent to British Grade 2 Braille. Some of the differences with Unified English Braille, which was officially adopted by various countries between 2005 and 2012, are discussed at the end. Braille was originally intended, and is frequently portrayed, as a re-encoding of the English orthography used by sighted people. However, Braille is an independent writing system, not a variant of the printed English alphabet. History. Braille was introduced to Britain in 1861. In 1876, a French-based system with a few hundred English contractions and abbreviations was adopted as the predominant script in Great Britain. However, the contractions and abbreviations proved unsatisfactory, and in 1902 the current Grade 2 system, called Revised Braille, was adopted in the British Commonwealth. In 1878, the ideal of basing all Braille alphabets of the world on the original French alphabetic order was accepted by Britain, Germany, and Egypt. See International Braille. In the United States at the time, 3 scripts were used: non-Braille New York Point, American Braille, which was reordered so that the most frequent letters were the ones with the fewest dots, and a variation of English Braille, which was reordered to match the English alphabet, assigning the values WXYZ to the letters that, in France and England, stood for XYZC. A partially contracted English Braille, Grade 1 1/2, was adopted in Britain in 1918, and fully contracted Grade 2, with a few minor concessions to the Americans, was adopted in 1932. The concessions were to swap the British 2 dot capital sign with the 1 dot emphasis sign, which had generally been omitted anyway, as capitals had been in New York Point, to drop a few religious contractions from general usage, and to introduce a rule stating that contractions and abbreviations should not span major syllable boundaries. In 1991, an American proposal was made for Unified English Braille, intended to eliminate the confusion caused by competing standards for academic uses of English Braille. After several design revisions, it has since been adopted by the Commonwealth countries starting in 2005, and by the United States, starting a gradual introduction after 2012. The chief differences with Revised Braille are in punctuation, symbols, and formatting, more accurately reflecting print conventions in matters such as brackets, mathematical notation, and typefaces. System. The 64 Braille patterns are arranged into decades based on the numerical order of those patterns. The first decade are the numerals 1 through 0, which utilize only the top and mid row of the cell. The second through fourth decades are derived from the first by adding dots to the bottom now. The fifth decade is created by shifting the first decade downwards. In addition, for each decade there are 2 additional mirror image patterns, and finally there are 3 patterns that utilize only the bottom row of the cell. The final pattern, the empty cell, is used as a space. It has the same width as the others. Cells 1 through 25 plus 40, W, are assigned to the 26 letters of the basic Latin alphabet. The other 37 cells are often used for punctuation and typically assigned different values in different languages. The English Grade 2 values are as follows: cells with dots on only the right side do not have equivalents in printed English and are explained in the notes. The ligatures of the third decade, an, for, of, the, with, take precedence over the letters of later decades. For example, then is written the n, not *thn. When standing as words adjacent to other such words, or to a, no space is left between them. For example, and they, for a, with the, of a are all fused together. When printed ch, gh, sh, th are pronounced as two sounds, as in Shanghai, hogshead, and outhouse, then they are written as two Braille letters rather than with the ligatures gh, sh, th. Generally, other ligatures should not be used if they might cause problems with legibility, as with the ing in lingerie, though they tend to be with familiar words, such as ginger and finger, even if their pronunciation is divided between syllables. None of the ligatures are to be used across the boundaries of compound words. For example, of is not used in twofold, nor bb in dumbbell. The rules state that they should not span a prefix and stem either, so for example the ed in deduce, the er of rerun and derail, and the ble of sublet should be written out in full. In practice this is variable, as it depends upon the awareness of the writer. The of in professor, for example, might not be recognized spanning prefix and stem, and no one has a problem with accept or address, despite the technical violation. There is also conflict with the overriding tendency to contract sequences that fall within a single syllable. So the same writer who divides the er in derive may allow the ligature in derivation. A similar pattern emerges from suffixes. Ed is not used in freedom, since it spans stem and suffix, but is used in freed, because it forms a single syllable with the stem. What is considered to constitute a prefix or suffix is somewhat arbitrary. St is not used in Charlestown, for example, but it is in Charleston. Ligatures may also not separate digraphs or diphthongs in print. For example, Arial does not use er, Oedipus does not use ed, and Tableau does not use ble. Also, it is normal to use the letter ea for the broken vowel in ideas or create, despite it being pronounced as two sounds rather than one as in head or ocean. Ligatures should not be used for acronyms that are pronounced as a string of letters. That is, DEA should not use the letter EA, nor PST the letter ST. Such letters are acceptable in acronyms that are pronounced as a word, however, if the result is not obscure. The letters of the fifth decade are often used in the past tense and other grammatical forms. When rub becomes rubbed, in Braille the letter B is moved down a dot to indicate the BB. However, those letters which double as punctuation marks EA, BB, CC, DD, FF, GG may only occur sandwiched in the middle of a word, not at the beginning or end, in order to avoid confusion with the punctuation. That is, *C, eb, ad, cuff, egg must be spelled out in full, though the ligatures are used in season, added, add, cuffs, and eggs. Because of legibility problems, see lower contractions in the next section, they may not come in contact with an apostrophe or hyphen either. That is, in eggs and eggplant, teas and tea time, the GG and EA must be spelled out in full. If the print letters span an obvious affix, the Braille ligature is not used. Preamble, reanalyze, pineapple, sub-basement, but they are used in words such as accept and address where the morphology has become opaque. In order to keep the spelling regular, compounds of words starting with EA keep the EA spelled out. Uneasy, anteater, southeast do not use the ligature EA because easy, eater, east do not use it. These are the least preferred ligatures, any other will be used instead. Thus wedding is WEDing, not *WEDing, and office is of FICE, not *OFFICE. Many of the rules for when to use ligatures, contractions, and abbreviations differ when a word is divided at the end of a line of text, because some of them may not come in contact with the hyphen that divides the word. See the references for details. The accent mark shows that there is a diacritic on the following letter, as in SC at nor seigneur, fa at cade facade, CAF at e café, NA at Ive naive, and angstrom at angstrat om. In normal Braille text, noting the precise diacritic is not important, as it can be easily understood from context. or simply ignored. Where diacritics are critical, technical Braille transcription must be used. A diacritic in a word of foreign origin prevents the accented letter from combining with another into a ligature. For example, Senior is not written with the ligature N as *s- at NOR, because it would not be clear if the accent were supposed to be on the E, as E, or on the N. However, English words are contracted. Thus blessed is written bless at ed, and coeducational is co at education al. Punctuation marks. Braille punctuation is somewhat variable, just as there is variation in printed English between curly and straight quotation marks. They fail to make some distinctions found in print. For example, both opening and closing parentheses are written, with spacing used to distinguish. On the other hand, Braille makes several useful distinctions which print fails to make. The period is different from the decimal point, and the apostrophe and ditto mark are distinct from the single and double quotation marks. Is the hyphen, the N dash, the M dash, and a double dash. Is the ellipsis. When words or letters are replaced by, or, in print, in Braille, and are used, with a matching number of characters. The reference mark, or asterisk, is used for all reference marks, asterisk, etc., including numbered footnotes. Unlike the asterisk in printed English, it is spaced on both sides, apart from associated footnote letters or numbers, which follow it immediately. So, word asterisk is transcribed, as is word and word, the numbered footnote in word 3 is written. The ditto mark, which occupies 2 cells, is only used once per line, in contrast to normal practice in print. The apostrophe and cap sign are used to compose additional punctuation. Added to parentheses, they form brackets. Added to quotation marks, they form single quotation marks. Together, they form the termination sign. See formatting marks below. Also, the section mark. The accent mark, here called the print symbol indicator, is used with punctuation when it stands alone, rather than suffixed to a word or number. For example, if someone's response in a dialogue is transcribed in Braille, that would be written. It is also used to derive a few symbols, %, $, and. Traditionally, mathematical symbols are spelled out, though Unified Braille has dedicated characters. So, 2 times 5 feet, read 2 by 5 foot, is, and 2:5, read 2 to 5, is. Formatting marks. Braille has several formatting marks, sometimes called composition signs, register marks, or indicators, which have no one-to-one correspondence with printed English. These are the number sign, the letter sign, the capital sign, the italic sign, or more accurately the emphasis sign, and the termination sign, written cap apostrophe. These immediately precede the sequence, word or number, they modify, without an intervening space. All characters AA through JJ are interpreted as the digits 1 through 0 when they follow a number sign. This reading ignores intervening numerical and arithmetical symbols such as commas, decimal points, and fraction bars, until a non-number compatible character, such as a period or a letter after J, is encountered, at which point reading reverts to the alphabetical values AJ. The number sign is repeated after a slash that's not used a fraction bar, like model number 15/07. For example, 120, 1/20th, is, but 20/20ths is. The Braille number sign has no equivalent in print. It is sometimes transcribed as number. However, this is misleading. An actual printed number is rendered in Braille as no dot, without an intervening space before the number sign. The letter sign is used to force the end of a series of numbers. For example, D preceded by a number sign, is read as 41. If instead 4A is intended, as in a section or apartment number, then the letter sign is used to force a reading of a rather than 1 for the final character, 4A. It is also used to mark a character as standing for a letter rather than for a word. For example, B on its own is normally read as the word but, to indicate that it is instead the letter B, the letter sign is used, B plurals of letters, mind your PS and QS, always use an apostrophe in Braille, but other derivations may not, as in nth, is sing, is essing/essing. The letter sign is also used to mark lowercase Roman numbers, as in 3. The capital, Ization, sign marks the first letter of a word as capitalized. It may occur in the middle of a word for camel case, as in the name D'Angelo. It is doubled to place a word in all caps. This must be repeated for each word of an all-cap text. The emphasis, italic, sign marks emphatic formatting, equivalent to printed italic, bold, underlined, and small capital text. A single italic sign emphasizes the entire word, or number. For 2 or 3 emphasized words, each takes a separate marker. For longer texts, a doubled marker is placed before the first word, and the end of the emphasis is indicated by marking the final emphasized word with a single italic sign. When the capitalization or emphasis does not span the entire word, the beginning and end is marked with a hyphen. However, if the print word already contains a hyphen, the termination sign is used for the end. So, hooray is written, but hooray is. The comma prefixed to a letter indicates that it is to be read as non-Latin, so that for example would be alpha if Greek symbols were being used. Contractions. Apart from words using the various abbreviation signs, covered in the next section, English Braille utilizes a number of unmarked contractions. These are similar to the contractions found in shorthand and stenoscript. As a rule, they are not used where they would obscure the text. Lower contractions. Because contractions that occupy only the lower half of the Braille cell mostly double as basic punctuation marks, legibility requires that, with few exceptions, they may not come in contact with actual punctuation marks. If they would, they should instead be spelled out. That is, any cell which follows without an intervening space should contain a dot in its top row. Most of the difficulties of when to use contractions are due to this complication. The whole word contractions of the 5th decade are BBB, and enough, FF2, GG were, his, in, by / was. If one of these words occurs at the end of a sentence, or before a comma, it must be spelled out, though enough would still be partially contracted to NOUGH. They cannot even be used in hyphenated words such as bride to be. However, much like Arabic prepositions, the prepositions to, into, and by join with a following word without an intervening space. This prevents by from being read as was. That is, in he came by to see us, by to see is written as one word. Word joining is allowed as long as the upper half of the Braille cell, .1 or 4, is used in the final word, to, by, into do join within, enough, be, his, was, were, but the second word is spelled out. The 5th decade prefixes, be, dis, con, may only be used if they occur at the beginning of a word, including in a compound word after a hyphen, or after by, to, into, and form a whole syllable. That is, they cannot be used in the words bin, disc, conch nor, apart from double duty be, as words in their own right, as in con artist. Com is similar, but need not constitute a syllable. It is used for example in come and comb. However, because it uses only the bottom row of the cell, like the hyphen and the apostrophe, it cannot come in contact with either. Longer contractions. Longer unmarked contractions are the following. Ligatures, such as st and agst against, are underlined here for clarity. About, abv above, ac according, acr across, af after, afn afternoon, afw afterward, ag again, agst against, al also, alm almost, alr already, alt altogether, alth although, alu always. Bec because, bef before, be behind, bel below, ben beneath, bes beside, bet between, bay beyond. Bl blind, brl braille. Cd could, cv sieve, cvg sieving. Chn children. Dcl declare, dclg declaring. Ei either. Fst first, fr friend. Gd good, grt great. herf herself, him, hmf himself. Imm immediate. Ll little, lr letter. Mch much, mst must, myf myself. Nec necessary, nei neither. Oc o'clock. Ourves ourselves. Pd paid, perhaps. Qk quick. Rjc rejoice, rjcg rejoicing. Sch such, sd said. Should. Td today, tgr together, tm tomorrow, tn tonight. Themselves. Wd would. Xs its, xf itself. Your, yrf yourself, yrvs yourselves. These can only form longer words that are derivations of them and retain their meaning. For example, above and aboveboard, necessary and unnecessary, conceive and misconceive, and good and goodness are all well-formed Braille, but not should in asterisk shoulder nor said in asterisk port said. Nor can they be used if a final e is dropped, as in declaration. This is why special ing forms are available for declaring, rejoicing, and sieving. The ing suffix would not work. They may be used as proper nouns, when capitalized, but not as parts of proper nouns. For example, little is acceptable for the name little, but may not be used with do little. Similarly, the contraction for good may not be used in the name goody. There are too many unpredictable names for this to be workable. After, blind and friend may only be used in longer words when followed by a consonant. They are too ambiguous otherwise. Abbreviations. Besides unmarked contractions, words are abbreviated with any of several abbreviation signs. All of these signs use only the right-hand side of the Braille cell. And mark initial abbreviations, combining with the initial Braille letter of a word. The italic sign, letter sign, and capital sign mark final abbreviations, combining with the final letter of a sequence, commonly a suffix. Initial abbreviations. The combining initial letter is written here in boldface, as it does not always correspond to the initial letter of printed orthography. Forms the words here, there, where, ever, ought, father, mother, name, character, question, no, Lord, one, day, some, part, time, right, through, under, work, young. Forms the words these, those, upon, whose, word. Forms the words cannot, many, had, there, spirit, world. In general, these are acceptable as parts of longer words as long as they retain their pronunciation. There are three main exceptions to this. One need not keep its odd pronunciation, as long as the O and N fall in the same syllable. Some needs to form a complete syllable, as in chromosome, chromo some. Part cannot be used in partake or its derivatives. As can be seen from chromosome, the pronunciation requirement is rather loose. Given the difficulty of English speakers in agreeing on where syllable breaks fall, syllable requirements are also loosely construed in Braille. They do not follow the rigid application of a dictionary. Final abbreviations. Forms the sequences ound, ount, ants, less, zion. Forms the sequences ong, full, ment, ins, nes, shan, ity. Capital Y stands for the suffix ally, and N for ation. These cannot follow an apostrophe or hyphen. They cannot form independent words like asterisk ally or asterisk less, nor can they occur at the beginning of a word like asterisk ancestor or asterisk lesson. However, then can usually occur elsewhere, see ount, ar ound. They may be used across syllables, as in seance or ness is used for the suffix s after n, though not after n or in, as in baroness, baroness, and lioness, but not in chieftainess, chieftainess. Full does not use full in order to preserve the parallel with the independent word full. However, full and fully do. When there are several ways to write a word, the shortest one is chosen, and when they are of equal length, the one without, 2 cell, abbreviations is chosen. So, thence is written thence, 3 cells, rather than the nce, 4 cells. However, with the sequences anst, answer, inst, insur, the form with ans/ins is used even if not shorter. Braille also uses print abbreviations such as EA, Monday, September, etc., in which case the period is used as in print. Unified English Braille. Unified English Braille, UEB, is an attempted unified standard for English Braille, proposed in 1991 to the Braille Authority of North America, BANA. The motivation for UEB was that the proliferation of specialized Braille codes which sometimes assigned conflicting values to even basic letters and numbers was threatening not just Braille literacy, but also the viability of English Braille itself. Also, the irregularities of English Braille made automated transcription inaccurate, and therefore increased the cost and time required to print in Braille. In 1993, the UEB project was adopted by the International Council on English Braille, and expanded to cover the various national systems of the member states, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Nigeria, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and the United States. An additional goal became adoption of a single standard for all Braille encoding, apart from music, with the exception of math notation. This was largely achieved. New Zealand officially retains Maori Braille as compatible with UEB, and BANA officially retains Nemeth code as a math notation option alongside UEB for the United States. In the finalized form as of 2013, UEB upgrades English Braille Grade 2, the literary coding used in several slightly variable forms in different countries, obsoletes computer Braille code by making email/website/programming syntax part of literary coding, and in some ways competes with Nemeth code by adding additional math notation, albeit tailor style with the numerals overwriting letters rather than overwriting punctuation as in Nemeth, to the literary coding. Compared to the American standard described in this article, Unified English has the following differences. Readings, several have been eliminated, due to ambiguity or translation problems, the letters dd and bli, the contractions by, com, to, into, and o'clock, and the capitalized abbreviations ally and ation. Spacing, words such as and the are to be spaced in Braille just as they are in print, formerly they were typically run together as nth. Formatting, bold, underline, and italics now have separate formatting marks. Formerly it was impossible to distinguish between underlined Braille and italicized Braille. A triple capital sign now indicates a passage in all caps. Punctuation, new opening and closing parentheses end, which previously were ambiguous. Various brackets, quotation marks, dashes, and other punctuation, including notably mathematical and arithmetical notations such as the equals sign, have been added, so that printed text can be reproduced less ambiguously. Uniformity, UEB is likely to become the worldwide standard for English language Braille, see full article for details. Extensibility, provisions have been made for adding new symbols, without causing new conflicts. Miscellaneous changes, various other differences exist.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.